For a guy who has literally gone to hell and back, you wouldn't think that there was much story left to tell. We've waited for what seems like an eternity to get our hands on the 4th installment of the series and be able to play as Kratos, who enjoys killing an entire roster of gods for revenge. It turns out the God of War series has many more secrets and hopefully more games to entice us in the future. And with the introduction of Kratos' son, Atreus, there might be more to come. Before we begin, subscribe to TheGamer and ring that bell to become a part of our notification squad so you never miss a video. And be warned, you may hear about some spoilers. Fatherhood plays an important role in the game. The moment players are introduced to Kratos in God of War 4, we notice an amazing change in the demigod. It seems demigod fatherhood may be the most significant reason for these changes, and Kratos seems to be a bit wiser and older in this title. Sure, Kratos is still the same god-hating guy we've always known, but he also seems a little sad about all of his hate. It makes sense after playing all the horrors he has both endured and caused along the way. In the newest game, we're introduced to Atreus, Kratos' son. The relationship between these two plays a major part throughout the game and the character development, but Atreus plays another role in Kratos' life. He gives him a chance at redemption and to connect to his own humanity. We have to remember, Kratos hasn't had the best of luck with his loved ones and family. As a young soldier in the past, Ares, the Greek god of war, tricked him into murdering his family, among other incidents. The director creates a reaction video for initial game review. Does Cory Barlog really need any kind of introduction? If he does, then we'll grant you this one wish. We used up the other 2 wishes in the hopes that Cory Barlog would at least give us 2 more God of War games. Sorry, not sorry. Barlog is the creative director at SIE Santa Monica Studio, as well as the creative genius behind the God of War series. So it comes as no surprise that the newest God of War is near and dear to this guy's heart. We don't even know where we'd be without fantastic games like God of War. So thank you, Cory Barlog. And thanks for the reminder that only real men cry. We don't blame you one bit. This is one of the greatest games we've ever had the pleasure of playing. A true masterpiece with a fitting reaction video. So keep on keeping on, God of War team. The new weapons have amazing origin stories. In the God of War franchise, there's nothing more important than your weapons, which is why it came as quite a shock when in the newest title, Kratos was given an axe as a weapon. As soon as you start playing God of War, you'll realize they've done away with the blades and given Kratos a new weapon to go with his seemingly new persona. The coolest part about the new weapon is that it comes with quite the backstory. The Leviathan axe was forged by the Dwarven brothers Brock and Sindri. If these names sound familiar, it's because these two are the ones who forged Thor's hammer, meaning they're pretty skilled at what they do. This axe was created to restore the balance of the realms after suffering at the hands of the Aesir gods. Kratos gets a new voice. It's not all in your head like you may have thought. Kratos and the God of War franchise didn't just get a few minor cosmetic changes. The series as a whole has seemed to change. T.C. Carson was the voice for God of War 1 through 3, but he has since been replaced by a new voice actor. Christopher Judge is now the voice of the older, wiser Kratos of the newest game. So not only did Barlog feel like the voice needed to change, but Kratos also received a new look to better fit the actor. Christopher Judge is best known for his role as Teal'c in Stargate SG-1. The main reason Terrence was replaced was because when doing shots for animation, they needed a much larger actor to work with to really get the Kratos they were going for, and hiring both a voice actor and body actor would have been more costly. To complete a full run-through. It's no secret the latest God of War game was in development for a very long time, and it definitely shows in how amazing every inch of gameplay is. What's astounding to us here at TheGamer is that the game is so complex, it took one of its own designers almost 2 entire days to finish a full run-through. Barlog admitted the team throughout the design process had a few concerns and were actually worried the game wouldn't be long enough. The Blue Kratos. This one's a bit hard to take in, even for the most imaginative among us, but it's true. Kratos was initially going to be blue, just like the Eiffel 65 song I'm Blue. Alright, not just like the Eiffel 65 song I'm Blue. The creator of God of War, David Jaffe, admitted the protagonist was originally going to be blue instead of red. The early designs had Kratos covered in blue war paint, but it was changed after they realized it was too similar to Diablo 2's Barbarian. So, just days before the game's debut in 2005, they changed the color scheme to red instead. When asked about the mix-up, Jaffe quoted in his blog, "You can bet we changed it lickety-f***ing-split," even if now Kratos, much to my never-ending disappointment, seems to be a fan of the Crimson Tide. Elon Musk tweeted a God of War Easter egg message. So back in December, you may remember the story about how Elon Musk tweeted out his own cell phone number by accident. It turned out the rumor wasn't entirely true. The phone number which was on his Twitter feed turned out to be something very familiar to die-hard God of War fans. After you beat the game, you could break 2 statues to get a code, and if you figured the code out, you would be given a phone number to call. The first message was achieved by beating the game on God mode, and Kratos would reveal the ultimate fate of Ares. The second message, Kratos would congratulate the player, but he's interrupted by David Jaffe, whom he promptly kills because he's annoyed by him. But before Jaffe is killed, he screams, "We gotta make the sequel!" This was a hint that there would be more games in the future. Jormungandr is the offspring of Loki. We were introduced to Jormungandr at E3 when we saw gameplay of God of War, and it was really hard to bite our tongue. Can a snake really be a comrade, or is he destined to turn on Kratos and Atreus? If you're already feeling distrusting of the World Serpent, it's no wonder, because in original Norse mythology, he's the son of Loki and Angerboda. He was sent back in time to when his father was a boy during Ragnarok. Another interesting twist is Jormungandr's relationship with Thor. The two hate each other vehemently and are actually destined to kill each other during the Norse apocalypse, Ragnarok. Jormungandr is an amazing character, as well as a sparkling conversationalist, but remember, he's a serpent and the offspring of Loki, so you can never be too trusting. Mr. KRABS and Hades from God of War 3 have the same voice. Clancy Brown has made quite the name in the voiceover community, but it means he has also taken on a number of uniquely different roles. Clarence has a wide range of vocal abilities, and it seems he's been around since most of our childhoods, creating voices for some of our favorite characters. He took his talents to Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and Crash Nitro Kart. Not only was he part of some of our favorite childhood games, but he also voiced Mr. KRABS, the cranky, money-hungry boss of SpongeBob SquarePants. You'll also remember his voice as Hades in God of War 3 was an impressive addition to the character. We hope to see more of his work, even if it's not in the God of War series. Swimming isn't included in God of War 4. We may have been bummed when we learned that there would be no swimming in God of War 4, but for every decision made in the game, there's always a reason. It turns out the reason developers had to deprive Kratos of this ability was for resource savings. Barlog said when interviewed that it would cost too much for them to add the addition of swimming, especially when taking into consideration that Atreus is constantly around. It would complicate the development process, and using a boat means the game's narrative could go at a slower pace. The developers believed using boats would help the environment feel more like the Scandinavian North. Risque minigames removed in God of War 4. You're either a fan of this stuff, or you're not, but for the most part it felt like most of these sexy minigames were just haphazardly thrown into the God of War series. They don't make a ton of sense or add anything to the story, so we were okay seeing them eliminated in the newest God of War games. Listen, Kratos doesn't have time for that anymore. He's trying to be a good role model to his son Atreus, and turning women into lesbians for his own strange satisfaction just doesn't give him the enjoyment it once did. The game was almost set in ancient Egypt. Not everyone was in agreement with the idea of Kratos living alongside giant sand dunes, pyramids, and pharaohs. We think it would have been an amazing concept, but we like that the designers decided to go with the northern Scandinavian instead. Here's what Cory Barlog had to say about the choice they made. For me, as I look at both, Egyptian mythology is about the pharaohs as embodiments of the gods on Earth. It's less isolated, less barren. I think at this time we really wanted to focus on Kratos. Having too much around distracts from that central theme of a stranger in a strange land. So, while we may not get to see Kratos in ancient Egypt in this game, it doesn't mean that it isn't in play for the next title. Kratos was inspired by Edward Norton in American History X. We thought long and hard about the idea of Kratos and where he was inspired from. We know some of his story is taken from a combination of Hercules and Kratos with a C, the god of strength, might, power, and sovereign rule. He had to act as a type of bodyguard to Zeus, so they couldn't just model his character after just anyone. Here's what David Jaffe revealed about the inspiration of our favorite god-killing protagonist. We took inspiration from Edward Norton in American History X when he played a Nazi. There's this scene in which the cops arrest him and you just see how buffed and built he's gotten. I showed that to the artist. Kratos has appeared in a number of other games. Kratos may not seem like the kind of character to be used for cameos or parodies, but he's actually been part of games you may not have realized. In 2007's The Simpsons game, you can see Kratos in the background of a level on a billboard. God of Wharf is written next to a photo of a Simpsons-style Kratos eating a bowl of chowder. He also appears in the Season 23 episode The Food Wife, where Bart plays Guts of War 2 Entrails of Intetinox at an E4 convention. Little Big Planet also offered a rare Kratos costume, and he appeared in 2011's Mortal Kombat with his own personal battle arena. Spoiler alert! There's an alternate ending. We hate to give away spoilers, especially to something as great as God of War, which should be enjoyed in its entirety. If you haven't finished the game yet, don't listen to this next part. When you get to the end, you may think it's just going to be Kratos and Atreus on the mountaintop, but it turns out there's a bit more to the story. If you go back to Midgard to your house and sleep in your bed, you'll find there is much more to learn. The scene goes forward a few years, and the father and son team wake up to a storm outside. You'll notice a cloaked man waiting for them. Kratos asks who he is and why he's doing this. The man reveals a giant hammer filled with electricity, and the game then cuts to black. The mysterious man is Thor, and he's here to seek revenge for the death of his sons, Magni and Modi. The player is brought back to discover Atreus had a dream, and he warns his father about Thor, but Kratos just shrugs it off. We really hope this is setting up the next God of War, but it's too soon to tell. How are you enjoying the new God of War game? What would you change or include for the next title? Let us know in the comment section below. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer and check out our other amazing videos. Thanks for watching.